So let's open IntelliJ. Okay. So yesterday we saw unchecked exceptions. Whatever we had seen are the unchecked exception, because while writing the code, compiler has not forced me to handle the exception. While running the program, it has given the errors. After seeing the errors, we had implemented the exception handling. Right? Please notice the difference. Yesterday, while writing the code, the compiler was not forcing anything. While running the code, it was giving the errors. So, based on the errors, we had implemented the exception handling. So, that's the reason they are called as unchecked exceptions. Okay. So, let's look at the checked exceptions today. I'll go and create a new class in the same package. Exceptions, right click, new Java class MNO. Right? Write a PSVM. How do we implement the checked exception? That means we need to have some file handling. File. I'm creating a object for the file class, that is a inbuilt class. New file of abc.text. Next, file input stream. In short, I'll put FIS equal to new file input stream of file. See, I'm just creating the object for the file input stream class. This is available in Java itself. The file and file input stream. Basically, here my intention is to read the file, that is abc.text file. I want to read the data that is there in the file. So how do I read that? These are the few lines of code that we can read a file. So what I need to do is, first I need to create the file object, right? First I need to create the file object where I need to pass which file I need to read, or the path name. I'm just directly putting it abc.text, but if you want to specify the any specific path, you can put that path here. Okay. Then the next line is, we need to create the object for file input stream. This is actually file handling. We'll learn more about it in the subsequent classes, but here we are just learning for the sake of checked exceptions. Okay, but actually file handling itself is a completely different topic, but just for the sake of checked exceptions, we are just looking at the high level of the file handling. Okay, so this is the way the file can be read. Okay, see, is there any problem with this? If you see here, here also I created the object for the file class by passing the file name, and then we are creating another object for the class file input stream, and then I am passing the same file that we had created here. Okay, here if you don't see, there is no error in this line, but here if you see, this is a red line, that means there is a error. Okay, that is the error. Compilation is failing. We cannot even run the program when the compilation is failure, right? When you just put the mouse cursor on top of it, you will see why that is giving red. So this is the unhandled exception, that is java.io.file not found exception. add exception to method signature. That means this is giving us the command saying that you need to add the exception to the method signature. Here you cannot even run the program, but previously when you don't put try and catch, still you were able to run the program, but when you are running the program, you are getting the errors or exceptions. But here, while writing the program itself, it is giving the compilation errors, right? Without fixing these compilation errors, we cannot run this program. So for running this program, what we need to do, what it is suggesting is, it is asking us to add the exception to method signature. Okay, surround with try catch. If I put it in the try catch block, then there is no error. See, that red line has gone. I repeat, this was the original code that I had written. Okay, it was throwing the compilation error. It was giving the compilation error. Why it is giving the compilation error? While creating the object for the file input stream, it throws the checked exception. What is the checked exception? If you put the mouse cursor on this, you will see file not found exception. Okay, how do you fix it? You will see the option here, or if you don't see this, just click on this red line. Here you will see the red bulb. Click on the red bulb. You will see all the available options to fix this problem. Okay, to fix this problem, so surround with try catch. If I click on this surround with try catch, that particular line went into the try block, and in the catch block, if you see, file not found exception, not like arithmetic exception or null pointer exception or exception yesterday. This is file not found exception. This piece of line expects to handle the file not found exception. If you see, just read it in a simple English language. What does it mean? File not found exception, right? Why we need to handle this exception is, while reading this file, right? Sometimes file may exist or may not exist, right? Sometimes file may exist or may not exist. In our code, file is not existing. I'm directly trying to read the file, right? So just to avoid that confusion, this instruction make sure that file is always available. If the file is not available, then what is the logic that we need to do? Okay, if the file is not, let's say for example, the file is not available, right? File not available. File is not available. C dot. Whenever you are trying to read a file, forget about what are the errors, or if there is any problem within the file. First of all, the file has to be there. When the file itself is not there, what is the logic that we need to perform, right? So for that purpose, we need to mandatorily handle this exception, right? If I run this program, we don't have this abc.txt file. Okay, if you see our project, anywhere you don't see the abc.txt file. Let's run the program. See, file was not there. That is the reason it directly went to the catch block. Inside the catch block, it is printing file is not available. And what is the message with respect to that exception? abc.txt, no such file or directory. No such file is found. Let's say, for example, now I'll put the file available in this location. abc.txt. So the file is available, right? I'll try to run the program just to make sure. Let's check. So before I block yes out, here I will say file font just file font. If I run this, what should be the output now? We have the file available. Will it go to the catch block?
No.
It will not go because file will be available, right? We can create the file. See, before try block and then the file form. Let's say, for example, I will just rename this. abc1.text. So what should we get? Whether it will be file found or file is not available.
Platform.
File is not available because the file that we have is abc1.text, but here we are trying to read abc.text, right? This is about the checked exception, right? While writing the code itself, here you will see the red lines. It will force you to add the exception. That's the reason they are called as checked exception. Yesterday it was not saying anything. While running the program only it was giving the exceptions, right? But here while writing the code itself, it is forcing us to write the exceptions. That is the reason it is called as checked exception. Okay. What are the examples that we had seen for the checked exceptions? SQL exception, file not found exception. This exception happens when we try to work with the database. I think all of you might have learned the database sessions given by Mohan, right? So when we actually work with Java and the database, right? SQL. Then you will see this exception. You might need to use it. And apart from that, there are many other checked exceptions in Java. Just like I was saying like yesterday, right? There are millions of exceptions in Java. Yes, there are millions of exceptions, right? So you might get the question that how do you remember, right? You don't have to remember anything. While just writing the code, it will just show the red line like earlier, right? If you just put the mouse cursor here, it will show which exception you need to add. Just click on it. That's it. You don't have to remember each and every exception. But you need to understand what is the error that is coming and what is the fix. How do we do the fix? That is what you need to understand. You don't have to remember millions of exceptions here. Only thing that you need to remember is how do you identify which exception it is asking us to handle and then how to handle that. That's the only thing that you need to learn. All right. Any doubts in this? Can I move to the next one? MNOP. ESVM. Same program. I'll repeat. File equal to. See why I'm while writing file, I am getting all these available options with the name that starts with the file. These are all the available inbuilt classes available in Java. Okay. I want to use only file. So after writing the file, I press Control space. Right, you will get all these options. Then you need to have the import statement on the top. You notice when I click, when I enter this, you notice there will be one import statement appear after the line number 1. Please notice now, import java.io.file. That means the file class is available in this package of Java. Okay, file file equal to new file. Now xyz dot text file input stream. See, again you see the file input stream here. New file input stream. Whenever you are trying to use any Java inbuilt classes, you should have the import statement here. How do you get it? You don't have to write it manually. You just need to write the class name here, press Control space, and then select. Then automatically it will come. Example, see, now that import statement has gone. That is the reason it is giving the red line. You need to import this class. File input stream. See, it has gone now. But again, our exception handling is pending, right? It is giving the same thing, unhandled exception, file not found exception. So how do we do that? More actions, or click on the red bulb. In the previous program we had seen surround with try catch, but it is actually giving another way to fix this problem. What is that? Add exception to method signature. Please remember, please notice the line number 9. When I click on this, what happens to the line number 9? Clear? What happened? Line number 10, sorry. What happened to the line number 10? What happened to the line number 10?
It throws the exception. File not found
It
exception.
just added throws file not found exception to the main method. That means whatever the code that is there inside this method may have the possibility of throwing the file not found exception, may have the possibility of throwing the file not found exception. There are two ways to handle the exception. One is by using the try catch, and other one is by using the throws keyword. This is what it is. I'm talking about these three lines. So far we had seen try catch block. The next way is the throws keyword. Either you can have try and catch, or you can have throws keyword. Clear? Both are same. Try catch and throws, both are same. For example, I write a method here, void method. I'll write the same piece of code, right? Here again, obviously it will force us to handle the exception. You click on bulb. See, here I am doing in try catch way. Here I am doing it by using the throws keyword. Both are same. Both are same. But when there are two options for achieving something, there should be a better way, right? So out of these two, the always the better way and then recommended way of using is try catch block, not the throws keyword. We should try to avoid the using of throws keyword, but the best option is try catch. Okay, best option is try catch. Clear? Any doubts? So we had seen the checked exceptions, we had seen the unchecked exceptions, and we had seen how to use the try catch block, how to use the throws keyword. The one that is pending is error types. These errors happens because of the system resources. Basically, these things we cannot implement on our own, as the definition itself says, because of the system resources, right? We cannot implement on our own because I cannot. How can you make out of memory in your laptop or in your system? You cannot make it, right? We cannot make it to run our laptop out of memory, right? But this is a abnormal behavior. Usually, we see this kind of errors in our real-time projects because usually when you are working with the company on any project, right? So those projects are might be running with huge data. Just like here we are creating one object, right? So basically in the real-time projects, there might be a chance of creating the millions of objects or billions of objects or trillions of objects. When that many objects are getting created, obviously each and every object occupies some memory inside the system. When there is no enough space for all the millions, billions, or trillions of objects, it turns into the out of memory, right? So that's how this can be learned. Basically, we cannot implement this. The only way that we can see is when we are running a project, the memory should not be available. It is just like whenever you try to install any app and then use it in your mobile, you should have the enough space, right? Enough memory space, right? Otherwise, it will not work, right? It will say that memory full. It's exactly the same thing. How do you reach that state? By installing so many apps and then maybe full of your inbuilt memory, right? That's when you get the memory full error. The same way here also, you will get it only when you fill your system with lot of data. My laptop has lot of you know available space. That's the reason I cannot get it. Alright, any doubts so far?
IO exception is the same or different?
Yes, IO
Because
exception is same. That is another checked exception.
okay.
IO exception is a checked exception. Just put it in Google. Checked exceptions. Let me see. List of checked. It, no link, no Google link can give all the exceptions, but mostly they will give clone not supported, interrupted exception. Right? These are also the checked exceptions. Reflective operative, class not found. These are just categories. You don't have to remember all these categories. Right? No such field, no such method. Runtime exception. See, and also another name for checked exceptions is are also called as the compile time exceptions because these happens at the compilation time only, right? Exceptions are also called as compile time. Unchecked exceptions are also called as the runtime exceptions because they happen at the runtime. Here also they are given very few list only, not a complete list. No one can give the complete list. There are millions of exceptions. Okay. Just like we had used file and file input stream which are available in Java inbuilt, right? Similarly, there are trillions of classes available in Java. For each and every class, there will be one exception available. Clear? All right. So now we had seen all these exceptions, right? Yesterday, if you had seen arithmetic exception that was available in Java only, right? See if you see here, because where is that arithmetic exception? If you go here, see this is the class arithmetic exception dot Java, which is available in Java, inbuilt class available. Similarly, if you see null pointer exception, this is also available. Just hold control and click on it. You will get the implementation of this null pointer exception dot Java. Okay. And now we had seen file not found exception. Just hold control and then click on it. You will see the implementation of file not found exception. Similarly, these are all the inbuilt exceptions. Java is directly providing all these exceptions. If you want to create your own exception, if you want to create your own exception, we can create that. If you want to create your own exception, we can create our own exceptions also. Let's learn how can we create our own exceptions. MNOPQ. Let's create a new class. Here what I will say is I will not put it Q, but I'll, because the class, it has to be the exception class name, right? Yeah. Age is not sufficient. This is the exception that I am going to create. Age is not sufficient, right? The class name is age is not sufficient. The first step that we need to do is extends throwable, okay? Extends throwable, and then we need to write the constructor. Which takes a argument string message. Super. Just need to come. Now I'm going to write the main method. So int age equal to type for method that I'm going to create, where I pass the age. If age is less than, what is the minimum age for vote? 18 or 21? I think 18, right? So, hmm, age is not sufficient. See, when I just type age, these are all the various exceptions available. These two are available in Java only, but this is the one that we had created. Age is not sufficient exception, and then we need to pass the message. Age is plus age plus not eligible for voting. So let's say we are building a voting application system. Voting application system. Okay. So obviously, for voting, what is the major criteria? The age. It has to be 18, right? So what we are doing is we are just mm, this has to be in a different class. Q Q1 equal to new Q because apply for what is the non-static method. Q1 dot apply for vote of age. Now if I run this program, let's see what will be the output. See, we had got the exception. We are throwing the exception here. There is a difference between throws and throw. When you want to manually throw the exception, then you need to use the throw keyword, right? So whenever, let's say, for example, whenever you go to a website and then try to uh, apply for the vote, right? If you put your age less than 18, whatever the error that you get is because of this piece of code, because of this piece of code. So whenever you input something wrong, immediately you will get a pop-up, right, saying that error or something on the screen, right? So that is because of this kind of implementation, especially the throw keyword. Here we are checking whether age is less than 18 or greater than 18. If it is less than 18, we are not eligible for voting, right? So that is the reason we are throwing the exception. Age is 15, so not eligible for voting, right? Otherwise, else some application accepted successfully. Let's say, for example, here if I put 20, right? What will be the output? Application accepted successfully because this condition is failed. If it is less than 18, this block will be executed, right, till here. If it is greater than 18, then this block will be executed, if and else. The main thing here to learn is this is the way that we create the our own exception. Here we had created our own exception. If you see any existing inbuilt Java exceptions, this also has the very similar implementation. Null pointer exception, extends runtime exception, and then they had just written one constructor. Inside the constructor, they're calling the super method. That's it. Here also I did the same thing. Extends, the first step is we need to either extend throwable or runtime exception or exception, anything out of these three, anything can be extendable. Throwable or runtime exception or then you just need to create the constructor for this class, and that constructor should accept a message, right? Inside that constructor we need to call the superclass constructor by passing the same message. How this is working here, let's try to understand in this program. See, when I'm doing this, throw new age not supported exception, that means what is this new age not supported exception? What is this? We are creating the object for the age is not sufficient exception, right? So when we create the object, what happens? Corresponding constructor will be executed, right? What is the corresponding constructor here? Let's say I can have another constructor also with no arguments. Here in this case we are passing a string message, right? This is a string message, right? If you come here, what is the corresponding constructor? Line number 5 or 9?
Line number 9.
Line number 5, we are passing the string message for this. What is the matching constructor for this? Line number 9 is taking any argument here?
No.
Then which one is taking? Line number 5 is taking. This is matching for this, right? Whenever we are creating the object, I think we have learned enough of this. Whenever we are creating an object, the corresponding constructor will be executed. Corresponding constructor, I am very specific about this word, corresponding constructor. There can be n number of constructors. What is the corresponding constructor? Whatever the argument that is matching. Here the argument is what? It is a string, right? So which constructor is taking the argument with the string message? This one, right? So this one will be executed. So when you go inside this, we are calling the super class constructor. When you say super, I think we learned about super also, right? That means the super class constructor, we are passing the same message, right? So super class is what for this? What is the super class for this? Go to inheritance. What is the super class for this?
Throwable ಅನ್ನ
Exactly. We are extending this class from throwable. So the super class is throwable. So go to throwable. Superclass constructor. Where is the superclass constructor here? See, this is the one. You don't have to understand this level, but this is what is getting executed when you write super of message. Going forward, everything will be linked that you have learned from the starting classes. Don't think that each and every topic is fresh. See, here we had got the inheritance, we had got the constructors, right? We had got the super keyword, and here we had got the objects, right? Now we are completed about the basics. Even before the exception handling only, we had completed learning about the basics. That is how the classes can be created, how the objects can be created, how the methods can be created, how the methods can be called, how the variables can be created, how the variables can be declared, how they can be initialized, and how the variables can be accessed. All of that we learned. Now it is just implementing for the other concepts. Basics are done. Now we are going to learn how each and every topic in each and every program you will see mix of different things. At the end of the day, what you have is methods, objects, variables, methods, constructors. That's it. There is nothing new. See, here also it might look very clumsy, and then it might look very confusing. It might look bit tough for you. But what are we doing actually? We are just creating the object here. That's it. Nothing else. And we are very much familiar with how do we create the object. Clear? Any doubts? Throw keyword is used to throw the exception manually. You understand the difference between throws and throw? Another important question. Throws keyword, when are we using this throws keyword? While handling the exception. But throw keyword is for what? Is for throwing the exception. Throwing the exception is different and handling the exception is different. Right? Throws keyword is used to handle the exception. Clear? Any doubts? If you also noticed here, we are throwing the exception, right? If you see in the output, let's say for example, I'll put again 10, right? Though we have the try catch block, it's not a graceful termination, right? See, we are getting the exception here, just like without a try catch block, if you noticed, right? That means we are manually throwing the exception here. But in try catch or throws, we are not throwing the exception. The exception is already thrown by the program. Exception is already thrown by the program and we are just handling it. Here we are manually throwing the exception. But here in the previous programs, exception is already thrown by the program and we are handling it by using either the try catch or throws keyword. That is the difference. Please try to understand. Throws and try catch block are the ways to handle the exception which is thrown by the program, and the throw keyword is for throwing the exception manually. That is the difference. Any confusion here? Any confusion, guys? And this is very common where you write some code and then it will give the red error and then you need to handle the try catch block. This is very common in the real time applications. Very common. You will see, you will have to write a lot of things like this. This is very common. If you don't understand, you will not be able to do it. Clear, guys? So we learned about checked, unchecked, try catch, throws, throw, and then creating our own exceptions. Very important question, right? Many of the interviews people will ask you, can you please implement your own exception? When they ask like that, this is what you need to do. This is our own exceptions. Or user defined exception. As a developer, we can create our own exceptions with some behavior. This is how we can create it. Okay, we'll stop it here. There is another subtopic in the same thing where we learn about the finally keyword. I think that will take one complete class. Probably tomorrow we'll cover that. If no doubts, we can stop here. All right. Thank you guys. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Push the course, Raghu.
Yes.
Today, yesterday class also.
Yes.
Mm.
Right away. We learn. Done. Cool. Thank you guys. See you tomorrow then.